Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Middle Ages Comic Hour with me, J.A. Bryden, and as always, Ryan. How are we, Ryan?
I'm good, mate. How you going?
Do you feel you're done with Turtles now? We're all turtled out.
Especially after that movie, yes, definitely.
Especially after
definitely.
After Rogan's Yeah.
No, I think like, because what happens is when I start, like, whenever we do something for the podcast, I tend to throw myself in.
Yeah.
So obviously, when we started doing The Last Ronin, I started playing Shredder's Revenge again. I started watching the movies again. I started watching the shows and so it's kind of nice to have a little bit of a break from the Ninja Turtles. Not saying that I'm not going back, because I do. No. The new issue of the Turtles and Stranger Things came out yesterday, so I have that in my lineup, my collection to read. So I'm very much looking forward to reading that because I'm enjoying that series.
Yeah. I sat down and started reading that last night.
Okay. Yeah.
And I just love it. There's so much to talk about, but we'll probably save it for another time. And before we get too crazy into this episode, just let you guys know that if you're jumping on right now, it's probably cool for you to jump on right now because we're starting a new series. We're starting Kraven's Last Hunt. Can't wait to talk about that. But we do have other episodes. We have interviews with authors called Story Chat. We have our main show. It's just called Stories, the True and the Fictional. It's all on the same feed. Definitely check them out. You'll have a lot of laughs, especially when Chris Park's on board. He's got some interesting thoughts from time to time.
Oh, definitely.
I could probably actually make a whole, series of just him sound bites, just and it would be extremely entertaining. I don't know if I'd have the time to do that though.
Yeah. He's very, how do we say, opinionated.
Yes, yeah.
And like, whereas you and I are opinionated, but once Chris has made an opinion on something, he cannot be swayed.
Yeah, pretty much. And like even today, I kind of, in our group chat, I kind of triggered him a little bit. I just thought this is funny. It's an electric car that's on fire, and because I know how much he loves, electric cars. So it's just like, I was just like, here's a Tesla with a what was the caption? Like, for Christmas, it comes with a fireplace. And then he was just off. Like, it was so funny. I was just at work and I was like,
I didn't see the whole thing myself, but all I saw was Jamie and his hatred for Tesla, and I knew something was going on.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't have a hatred for Tesla. I just think it's funny that people love them so much.
Jamie, it's purely and simply, people love them so much because they're the hot new thing at the moment. They're the technology, when the iPhone first came out, I was one of those people who was there and bought it on day one. And, it's just people, it's a car that's like a computer. And they just don't realize that, yes, it is a car that is like a computer and so many things can go wrong.
Yeah, but like when you bought your phone, did it combust at all? Or?
No, I bought an iPhone.
But this isn't the Tesla podcast. We'll save this for when Chris is around. It's the next trigger word. I can say Star Wars or I can say Tesla, and he'll just go, wah! Probably different reasons. But
if we ever want a week off, we just say Star Wars, Tesla, Ryan Johnson, and me and Jamie could just go to sleep while Chris takes over.
Yeah. That'd be wonderful. Anyway, a little bit of comic news, Ryan. This one's for you. You've probably heard about it. You know that DC are reprinting Year One. The Batman Year One.
Mm-hmm. I did.
It's coming out this December.
I'm surprised they didn't do it around when the Pattinson Batman came out because that was more relevant. Because essentially that was Year Two. But look, it's I've got it. It's a great story. It's literally, you want an origin story, then that's what it is. Year One is absolutely fantastic. So look, if it's going to get more people to read that story, definitely I'm on board 100%.
Well, what you're saying is I should definitely pick up a copy.
If you haven't read it and you don't own it, it's definitely a must-have for the comic book shelf. I would definitely recommend it. Good story. As I said, it's exactly what it is. It's Year One. It's Batman's first year as Batman. After it sort of you'll probably like it as well because it's got a lot of flashback stuff. So it's kind of like, you know how in Last Ronin we saw what Mikey was doing during the years and then obviously the future. Well, obviously you see Batman's training regime of what he did. You know how in Batman Begins you see he's been off doing stuff, but you also get obviously the first encounters with a lot of the current Rogues Gallery. So yeah, look, it's definitely going to be worth a pick up.
No, cool. I'll put it on my list. Or it's Christmas. It was coming out in December, so we just be like, "Hello, friends and family. Do you want to know what you can get me? Batman."
Yeah, it definitely you would enjoy it. It's a really good origin story, and I can't recommend any of that era Batman is fantastic.
Well, considering that the comic book collection I have is primarily Marvel and IDW, it's probably good.
Oh,
it would be good for me to get into some DC in that.
It is one of the the primary Batman stories that come out in the last 50 years. Obviously that you've got the Killing Joke, you've got the Long Halloween. If you can get your hands on those three, you're set for the major events of what's taken place to Batman to make him who he is.
Cool. Look, I've got a bit of an article to share, but you watched a movie recently and it's comic book related, so I figured
I did.
Do you want to give us a little bit of a Ryan's recommendation?
Oh, back to the Ryan's recommendation. Look, I was as probably our listeners knows, I'm not currently working at the moment due to an issue with having half of my leg taken off. Not in any fun way, but not by a shark or anything, but just unfortunate. But so I've had a lot of time on my hands. So I like to say I should belong in the cast of One Piece, if you get what I'm saying. Before this all happened, but since this happened, I've kind of stepped up my game a bit. And I was very surprised the other morning when I logged on to my fully legitimate website and found out that the new Blue Beetle movie was out. And I thought, okay, all right, I've got nothing much to do at the moment. So I said, I chucked it on. Steph wanted to watch it as well. And I like watching movies with her because she's a very good judge of how good something is. I must say, this is probably the best comic book movie I've seen in quite a while. I was very, 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 very surprised. Me and Steph, neither of us looked at our phones at all during the whole movie because it was very easy to see because it was late in the afternoon. And if it was already dark, so I would have easily been able to see if Steph's phone lit up. But no, we both literally, it's got a great cast. It's a great, look, I can understand why James Gunn was okay with this movie happening and was okay with it, being considered technically like a one-shot story leading into his universe because it was absolutely, it's really, really good. The casting of Jamie, and now I was saying to Steph, our Mexican friends pronounce it Jaime Reyes.
Jaime.
But I'm now calling you Jaime Bryden.
Okay.
So Jamie Reyes was the second incarnation of the Blue Beetle, as per the comics. First with Ted Kord, but they obviously Kord Industries plays a big part in this movie. His evil sister has taken over, and wants to rule the world as all evil megalomaniacs do. And they pretty much hit the nail on the head with the origin. It pretty much happens exactly as it does in the comics and Jamie Reyes' side. His family are just absolutely fantastic. He's got a grandmother or an abuela who speaks not a word of English, but she probably makes the second half of the movie. She's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, look, it was fantastic. What I loved about it, it was colourful. It was you know how Guardians is colourful? Yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy. It's colourful. It's not dark and gritty and it was a really good movie. Humour right where they needed it to be, but also seriousness right where it needed to be. Great supporting cast. It's pretty much filled. The only other person you will know aside from, and I'm going to butcher his name, Zolo, who's he played Jamie Reyes. He's also Miguel from Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai, yeah.
But George Lopez, a very, very famous Mexican comedian, plays the crazy tech-savvy uncle, and he does it fantastically. Susan Sarandon plays Vanessa Cord, who is Ted Cord's evil sister, who's trying to take over the world. Absolutely everyone else you've probably never heard of, and you would never have guessed it because it's absolutely fantastic. It is the best DC movie I have seen in a long time. And yeah, I was like, it's very rare for me not to look at my phone during a comic book movie nowadays, but I had no interest, had absolutely no interest. Even when it came to, I know who that is, but I need to look it up. I'm like, I'm going to wait till the end of the movie. There was no pausing for toilets. There was no, pausing to get a snack. It was literally start to finish. I think 2 hours and 9 minutes with one post-credit scene, which was fantastically placed. Yeah, it was. Look, I would give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. And I have lost all faith in comic book movies lately, so it was really, really, really good. So I definitely recommend any comic book fan definitely check it out. The CGI, there's no issues with the CGI. It's not like it doesn't look out of place. It's actually quite good. There's not too much of it, I think, basically, because they did make a Blue Beetle suit for Jamie Reyes, but obviously there's a little bit of CGI and flying and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, look, I absolutely enjoyed it. Would definitely watch it again. And I will definitely be picking it up on Blu-ray once my financial status is a bit better. So that tells you everything, because I have not bought a comic book movie since Zack Snyder's Justice League came out.
How good is Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Yeah. I mean, that's the last good comic book movie. I mean, look, Guardians was great, don't get me wrong, but I knew it was going to be great. But this movie I was expecting to be okay, and it actually was amazing. So I definitely recommend everyone checking it out. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about it.
I can't wait to get Blue Beetle on Blu-ray. Just saying.
And unfortunately, there is no blue VW Beetles in the movie.
Aww.
I know. Perfect advertising, but no.
But just like whenever we drive through a traffic light and you see a green arrow, you think green arrow. So anytime you see a blue VW, you're going to be thinking Blue Beetle.
Oh, definitely.
That's just the way it works.
I was very, very surprised, and I honestly, as well as I know you, I think you will really enjoy it. It's a really good film just to put on to watch, and you will get invested in the story.
Yeah. Well, I already like that actor, and I'm keen to see Miguel.
Yeah. He's really good.
He's good in Cobra Kai. It's
Yes.
It's good to. I love it when small time actors get a chance at something big,
and he does it. He does it well.
Yeah.
And you know what? We kind of got to see him grow up through watching Cobra Kai, because he was quite young when he started. And just a little bit of trivia. So obviously he does all his own stunts in the movie, because he is actually a trained martial artist. That's why he got the role on Cobra Kai.
Yeah, there you go.
So you will notice when when Blue Beetle's having fights, like there's you go, oh yeah, there's like a little, there's a fair bit of parts in there, but he does 99% of his stunts. Basically anything they'll let him do, he will do.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely check it out.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that. Now, quickly before we dive into issue 1 of Kraven's Last Hunt, which is phenomenal, let me just say that. A little bit of Deadpool 3 news.
Yes.
Have you heard about the rumors?
I've heard a lot of like pretty much every day goes by and we get day or two we get a new rumor. I heard about Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah. Well, I got a list of cameo rumors, but the one that isn't cameo rumor that I absolutely love, and I really hope this is true because it's going to be perfection. It's the premise of the film is basically Deadpool realizing you can't recast Hugh Jackman. like Hugh Jackman is Wolverine and you can't, so you're going to have a whole lot of different variants. I've heard that Carl Urban's going to be a variant of Deadpool.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. He's got and that's why I think the Daniel Radcliffe thing comes in, because apparently apparently what the producers have done is every fan casting they made an offer to. So people were talking. There was a while ago. People were talking about let's get Daniel Radcliffe as Wolverine. Let's get Carl Urban as Wolverine. Yeah. And they basically went around to all of those people and say, "Hey, do you want to do a cameo?" And which I think is a brilliant idea. It's a great fan service. It's like in Doctor Strange 2, where we got John Krasinski as Reed Richards, where everyone all over the internet had always wanted that. So
and it was so good. But there's a rumor of Daphne Keane reprising her role as X-23, which I think would be phenomenal. Yeah. I actually reckon that they shouldn't recast Wolverine. They should bring her in as the Wolverine.
Yeah,
why not? Like she's a great actress.
She's definitely grown up a lot since that movie. I saw a side by side.
As Chris keeps posting, pictures. Yes. Look. Yes, Chris. How's your marriage, Chris?
Yeah, exactly.
Rumor that Ian McKellen is returning as Magneto.
Yes, and I heard apparently what I heard, the villains for the movie is going to be Ian McKellen's Magneto and Michael Fassbender's Magneto.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Yeah, well, I've heard that Scarlet Witch.
Yep.
I've heard Channing Tatum will be appearing as Gambit. Yep. Halle Berry. So basically the original Storm and Jean. There will be a Loki variant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Basically they've just gone, let's just get everyone we possibly can.
Yeah. Well, it's a what do you call it? It's a let's make fun at the multiverse. I guess that's what it's kind of going to do. Do you know who Julian McMahon is?
Yeah, he was the Doctor Doom in the very first Fantastic Four movie with he was Doctor Doom. It's Australian actor.
Well, it looks like he's going to return as Doctor Doom. And then I heard some wacky thing about Taylor Swift being in it, but I don't think that's true.
Let's hope not.
Why would you want Taylor Swift? Like, look,
all the others make sense.
Yeah.
But no, why would you want to? Unless she's getting killed without saying a word, then I'm totally on board for it.
Well, that's you mean like Justin Bieber in Zoolander 2?
Yes,
which was the only
that
good
was
thing.
The best you could. Yeah.
The only good thing about that movie was that.
Yeah, the movie was a very I remember I loved the first one, and I remember being so excited to see the second one at the cinemas, and to be so let down.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. The only good thing about Zoolander 2 was seeing Justin Bieber get absolutely massacred.
Yeah. And the other rumor that I heard was the kid from, it's a Ryan Reynolds movie, one of these new ones, the one that was on Netflix.
The Adam Project.
Yeah, the kid from that is good, rumored to be Kid Deadpool or Deadpool Kid.
Deadpool, and he was a good. I enjoyed that movie, so I would have no issues with that whatsoever.
100%. Like, I mean, look, this has been how long in the making? Because Ryan Reynolds has been pushing and pushing for Hugh Jackman to come back as Wolverine, and I feel torn about it because Logan was such the perfect ending to Hugh Jackman's,
But they did put out like a 6-minute YouTube video stating, "Hey, we're not messing with that at all."
Yeah. So obviously, obviously because they're doing the multiverse and all that stuff.
Yes.
But I wish that Hugh Jackman did Deadpool 3 and then Logan somehow came out in that order, because that to me Logan is like one of the most perfect films. Not even comic book films, perfect films of like all time. Like I feel like watching it now, but it will make me cry.
Yeah.
I've never
and you can. It's got great. It doesn't matter, if it's the year it came out, 10 years down the track, 15 years down the track, you put it on and it's still gonna get you.
Yeah, 100% every time. And like I've said, I'm pretty sure I've said it on the podcast before, but like I've never been in a cinema that was that silent when the credits rolled.
Yeah,
like it's just dead silence. Usually you get the old person murmur,
I think the same. I went and saw it. Me and Steph went and saw it opening night, and I just think that moment where she turned the cross to an X, and that was just everyone.
Oh, yes.
It's like, nah, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't do
It
this
was
anymore.
yeah. There's only a few movies that I've cried in, and that was one of them, definitely. But
Yeah,
they've mostly been comic book movies, to be honest with you.
yeah,
Like Endgame, No Way
yeah,
Home,
yeah,
because
yeah,
that's what I mean. That
yeah,
their writers know how
yeah,
to get you. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But yeah,
They don't mess with the source material, and they
no.
enhance the experience.
And I did finish One Piece finally.
Oh, wonderful. We'll hold on to that because Chris will want to, have an hour and a half of him just talking. After he asks you, what did you think? And then it'll be an hour and a half of Chris talking. And then we'll get the last minute you going, yeah, it was cool. I really liked it. Oh, and then Chris will butt in again and it'll go for another 3 hours and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, listeners, stay tuned. Next episode will be episode 111, I believe, of the main show. Yes, we've been going for a while, but enough on that. Let's talk Kraven, Ryan. Let's talk Kraven. Now, this is the comic book that you suggested, and well done, mate. Well done, my friend. I didn't realize it was 87. I think came out.
Yeah, well, see, the good thing about this is obviously one, yes, it's going to be topical for the new Spider-Man game more so than the movie. But what I like about it is it's kind of like it's right at the heart of where Pete's doing it the toughest. He's come back from Secret War. He's got the black symbiote suit, and it's kind of like he's guarded down. He's like he doesn't care as much in terms of we all know what happens when he puts on the black suit. It kind of inhibits his emotion and triggers the rage and everything. So I think it's a really and it's an iconic story and one that I'm kind of glad they haven't done on a movie yet because I think that'd be a really big one where I'd be very critical of because it is such a great art. But yeah, look, it's one of the pivotal Spider-Man arcs. I mean, if you ask anyone their top 10 Spider-Man arcs of all time, Kraven's Last Hunt will be in there, if not top two.
100%.
So, have you read it before, Jamie?
No, I haven't. This is my first time reading it.
Okay, excellent. So it's kind of the opposite now. This is like my seventh time reading it. So but it's been a while. I haven't read it in about a year and a half, so it's good going back over it.
Yeah. Well, I figured before we dive into it, let's talk Kraven because Kraven's obviously the huge part of it. Debuting in issue 15 of The Amazing Spider-Man in 1964. How good is Kraven? Like Kraven has always been one of my absolute favorite Spider-Man villains, and I've been waiting for him to be in a movie. I've been waiting for him to. He's always in the games, and they're always done perfectly in the games.
He kind of takes, the world's most deadliest game to that next step. Like the famous line is like, "I'm going to hunt the greatest game of all, man." And Kraven's like, "No, I'm going to hunt spiders." But basically, Kraven, we've seen him. There's been different iterations of him throughout the time that we've read. Obviously, he does eventually ends up having a family, and they're all just as psychopathic as he is, which is always good. But yeah, it's Kraven, known as Sergei Kravenov, from Mother Russia. Basically was raised in the jungle. So I'm thinking the Savage Land, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of like Marvel's version of the Bermuda Triangle. They have dinosaurs and all that kind of shit there.
Cool.
So he was raised there. He's a long-term hunter. He wants to hunt. And forgive me, it's got nothing to do with the movie that's coming out because he never has been an animal lover kind of thing. He's just like survival of the fittest. He wants to be the world's greatest hunter, and the biggest hunt he's never been able to fulfill is the hunt for Spider-Man because Spider-Man's bested him in many different occasions. Where we pick up with Kraven's Last Hunt, he knows his time as a hunter is coming to an end soon. Well, he believes soon.
Yep.
And he needs to sort of divert all of his attention into the one that got away, so to speak, in Spider-Man.
Yeah. And a fun fact that I didn't even know: he's the half brother of Chameleon.
That was something that also I was going to bring it up.
Yeah.
Yes, he is in fact the half brother of the Chameleon. They do work to obviously that's not sort of revealed till later on in the years, but they do work together. Yeah, so definitely he is. He is the half brother of Dmitry Kravenov or whatever his name. Dmitry is who is the Chameleon. Yeah.
Now, bit of fun fact and trivia that you probably know, but Ned Leeds is he the So Ned's the Tom Holland.
Yeah. So basically, the Ned Leeds in this universe.
Yeah.
So basically Ned Leeds in this universe was a reporter for the Daily Bugle. Married Betty Bryant. Became the Hobgoblin. He was the second iteration of the Hobgoblin. Yeah. So that's where they kind of iterate to in No Way Home, where you know how they're saying like I always had my Harry, and they're like don't and Pete's like I will never go bad on you, and then I'm thinking well you do, but so he ended up becoming the Hobgoblin and died about probably 12 issues before this arc. Unfortunately in a fight with Spider-Man. Yeah. Unfortunately, accidents happen, kind of similar to what happened with the Green Goblin in the first Spider-Man movie.
All right. Yeah.
And he unfortunately passed away, so that's still weighing very heavy on Peter's head.
Yeah.
He feels responsible, being really good friends with Betty Bryant and Ned Leeds. You know, outside of the Spider-Man life, it's weighing very heavy on his head. So yes, that is the Ned we know from. Yes.
Well, because that makes sense. Because I saw today, I think online a concept that they had in No Way Home. They talked about having Ned use the glider.
Yeah.
Yeah, they talked about it going as a wink to it, but they didn't, inevitably didn't do that. But
what I think they did with Ned in the Tom Holland movie is they kind of combined him and Genki from the Miles Morales universe. They combined those two characters together, where you've got Miles Morales' best friend, as for those who have read the comics and played the games will know is Genki, and they kind of took his essence and spirit of being the second in charge, like he's been Miles's number two.
Yep.
And then obviously combine it with the whole Ned Leeds character. I think they've done a really good job at doing that. So, yes. So I was going to explain that because it doesn't really do a great job of explaining who Ned Leeds is and why Peter's, taking so much of it to heart. But yes, that's the case.
Cool. And another fun fact that you definitely will know because you're Ryan and you've read this. MJ and Peter are married.
They are. At this stage, yes, they are.
At this stage, finally. Yeah.
Yes, yes. It's a very long courtship, I think about 35, 40 years. But yes, they are, in fact, married. She is a supermodel, very, very famous supermodel. Yep. And Peter, which is good. It worked out for Peter because he gets gigs as her photographer and they get to spend time together, which they kind of hint to sort of in Miles Morales, only she's a reporter for the Bugle and she goes overseas and takes Peter with her in Miles Morales game, which is it's basically the same thing, only she's a model and she takes Peter across. But yes, they are in fact married in this current era.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's dive into it. What do you say?
Yeah. So aside from that, all you really need to know is there was an event called Secret Wars, which where basically there's a whole bunch of heroes. They went into it a little bit in the cartoon. That used to be on the very first cartoon. They did a whole series on it, where a whole bunch of heroes were selected to fight off-world to see who would be the better. And that's where Peter Parker actually got the symbiote from in comic terms. He didn't actually get it. He got it from another planet, but it didn't come down on the spaceship like it did in the cartoon. So, So Peter's had the suit for probably about 12, 15 issues. So that's why we're going in and we're seeing Peter in the black suit straight away.
Yeah. So we're going to do it a little bit different this time. With Last Ronin, we kind of read as we went and ummed and ahed and kind of got distracted by the shiny little pictures. But I got a basic synopsis of it, and Ryan, feel free to chime in anytime you feel like talking and that sort of thing. Because just flicking to the next first page, I'm seeing a headless gorilla, and that's like pretty insane. So, all right, let's go through the plot. Okay, so a naked Kraven. Well, you're right. Mm-hmm. Right, you okay? He's naked. It's like,
I'm fine. Kraven to be naked a lot. He believes it's the best way to get in tune with his hunt is to get as close to nature as possible. So, right. That happens a lot.
Okay, so naked Kraven. A naked Kraven is training with his embalmed trophies, throwing a panther, beheading a gorilla. Meanwhile, in his garden, a servant digs a grave. Inside the mansion, Kraven reminisces. He recalls his coming to America with Eddie Murphy. The downfall of his homeland. As he enters the mansion's chapel, he realizes that no matter how good the elixirs he took are, he's an old man, and his spirit is also dying. He surrenders to the inevitable. He'll die soon. He approaches an open coffin, and with tears in his eyes, he picks up a Spider-Man costume inside the coffin. Yep. But not yet, he thinks. And man, I will pause here because I flippin' love the way this is written. I will die soon. I must die soon, but not yet. And it's written like poetry, and that's why, when it moves on to Spider-Man staying like that, stuff like that, it's a similar type of
exactly.
And it is poet. It just goes to show how well writing was back then.
100%. I mean, this was the probably one of the best eras. I would say from the early 80s through to the 2000s was my favorite era of writing just by comics, because you had people like Jim Lee just starting. Todd McFarlane was working on Spider-Man as well. This is J.M. DeMatteis wrote Kraven's Last Hunt. It's basically a who's who of who's running the companies now.
Yeah.
It's some of the best writing. It's very poetic. It's very, it just gets the point across, and it gets right inside you and makes you go,
Yeah, well, I'm definitely getting that, like, from reading this issue. I've read it 2 or 3 times this week.
Yeah.
Just to get my mind in it. But moving on, the rain is pouring down and the thunders echo in the night. Jimmy's Corner, a bar who usually doesn't welcome honest people, today isn't welcoming anyone. It's closed. And the only people inside are grieving. Joey Face is dead, thinks Spider-Man.
So Joey Face was a long-time informant of Spider-Man. So back in the 80s, he used to, feed him information on the Kingpin, on the Magia. They don't call it the Mafia, they call it the Magia. So Maggia, the Mafia. So people like Hammerhead, Silver Sable, all those kind of people working within Tombstone was a big player around this period as well. So Joe used to feed Spider-Man a lot of information. Unfortunately, he passed away. Circumstances unknown on how he actually died. But Spider-Man feels very responsible because as he got the black suit, he was putting Joe in more and more dangerous situations, which eventually did lead to his demise.
Yeah. Well, that's what it says here. Why should Peter care with the death of guys like this? He asks himself.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Like, why should I? But that's the brilliant thing why I love Peter Parker and Spider-Man so much, because he does care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he does. He cares too much sometimes.
The owner of the bar talks about Joey. No money, no family. Those thugs and himself were everyone he had. And the best they could do was this and a collection for a decent box and a piece of ground in an ashtray near the body. He sees Spider-Man hanging from the ceiling, but he can't say his name. Instead, they all run for the door. Spidey webs the door and tells them not to run as he just came to say goodbye. Putting on a costume doesn't change the man underneath, he thinks. I'm just Peter Parker, and I guess I do care. Spidey pulls out some money and drops it in the ashtray. A decent box and a piece of ground, he says, and leaves. Man, if Chris needs to read this. This is so much like Chris's,
I know.
you know,
It really is.
Yeah.
And what we're also not mentioning over the last 2 pages, you've got the servant still digging the hole out the front of Kraven's house at the bottom. The last panel of each page over these last few pages has been the servant digging the hole.
Yeah.
Just getting further and further down.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's poetry.
Yeah.
It's you know what I mean? It's amazing.
Well, that was exactly what my next line was going to be. Meanwhile, Kraven's servant keeps digging.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No, dude, chime in. Please do chime in. Like, you're not looking at what I'm reading, so it's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So Peter swings home and thinks about death. Ned, Gwen, Captain Stacy, Uncle Ben, Joey Face, they're all dead. Someday it'll be MJ's turn, or Aunt May's, or Pete's. He realizes he's going to die. But not yet, he thinks, as he goes to sleep. Oh, poetry, Ryan.
And can I just say that as much as as you know, as a good friend of mine, I hate spiders.
Yeah.
Cannot stand them in any kind of format. But the next page, where Kraven's sitting on a pile of spiders and he just starts eating them.
Yeah.
Is my favorite page of this whole issue because it's just showing like he's getting suffocated by them. They just keep falling and falling and falling and falling. And he's breaking his way through and he's eating his way out through all these spiders. And, you know, it's kind of like he's in, you don't know if it's actually something Peter's thinking about or if it's Kraven, you know, getting into his mind, or I just think it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Well, obviously that page. And then Peter awakens from a nightmare with spiders. Yeah. And goes for a swing to cool down. It's like, I've had a terrifying nightmare about spiders. Let's go for a swing like a spider. While Kraven repeats tonight.
Yeah, tonight.
Yeah. I love Kraven.
I love the what they did really good in this era of storytelling is they do this a lot. And on the next page, you'll see you've got a panel of Pete and a panel of Kraven. And the story is running side by side of what's happening. And, you know, like Peter's saying, like someone playing drums in my head is pounding, like someone playing drums inside my brain, for jungle drum. And then you just you can see Kraven jumping out of a helicopter just behind him. And,
poetry, didn't I say?
I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to rest. I'm not going to stop until... Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah. So Spider-Man is swinging and Kraven drops from a helicopter in a rooftop somewhere else. The hunt begins. And the servant's still digging. Spider-Sense warns, but Pete reacts too slowly and is hit by a dart. He raises his head to see Joey Face. He understands it's Kraven, but his sight alternates between the two. So it's like Kraven, Joey Face, Kraven, Joey Face.
And I like how they did, you see how it's done on the actual page. It's just amazing.
Knowing he's been drugged, he attacks Kraven only to be struck down by Kraven's staff and caught in a net. Yeah. Currently lacking the strength to escape, he thinks that he'll recover while Kraven takes him to some secret hideout and brags. His mistake. Kraven points a rifle at him, saying, "Honor will be restored," and watching Spider-Man pleading him to stop. Blam! Meanwhile, the servant finishes the grave. A huge thunder is heard as Kraven and two of his men stand by Spider-Man's coffin. The coffin is lowered to the grave, and Kraven throws in the first dirt. Then his sad face is replaced by a huge grin. and he and his men leave while the servant covers the hole.
Mm-hmm.
What did I say, Ryan? Poetry. Like, this is literally poetry.
And that's just part one.
Yeah. Man.
You know, we still got parts.
5 more parts to go. But, dude, I'm so glad because you got this for me for my birthday or for Christmas, didn't you?
Yeah, I think it was Christmas one year.
Yeah, and it sat there, and I was like tempted to read it, and this sort of did, and then I sort of didn't, and now we're here, and I thank you, Ryan, for being such a good friend because this is fantastic.
Well, that's what I mean. It's one of the most iconic Spider-Man stories out there, and you know there's a reason for it because they don't write like that anymore. Don't get me wrong, the writing of the current writing is amazing, but they just don't write it like this anymore. It was the era. It was the late '80s. It was gritty. It was dark. Everything was kind of like this, and I think this just fits the bill perfectly while still being a Spider-Man story, still having that that Peter Parker still feeling for the loss of someone who we shouldn't care about, but then you've also got Kraven he's essentially fulfilling his last wish.
Yeah.
Um,
Look, I've just opened the front page here because I've got hard copy. Only one writer.
Yep, JM or JD Mateus, JM Mateus.
Yeah. And look, that's cool. I love it when there's like only one. I think it's one or two is great because it's good to have people to bounce ideas off. You know, I everything I write, I bounce off our good friend Chris Park. And and I can take it or I can reject it or whatever, but it's good to have a sounding board.
Yeah, exactly.
But one man's vision is very, very cool.
Exactly, and they've tried to replicate this story. Different writers have tried to sort of show their version of it. In the 2010. And while they're all great, nothing beats the original.
Oh, 100%.
Especially, I think it's a perfect place for it because, like I said, Peter's still very conflicted. He's just got this new suit, which he's not at the stage at the moment where he realizes that it's taking over. It's getting that symbiotic relationship. And, he's just thinking it's normal for him to feel the way that he feels. And I just think it's just the right time for this story to be told.
Yeah. Do you think maybe they have, but have they done this in the cartoon? Have they done this in a movie? Have they attempted it?
I think I am going to
Lord Google
admit that I'm going to. I think they might have hinted it at the very first Spider-Man cartoon.
Yeah. I'm
just checking it out now. Yeah, no, it hasn't been. No. People are saying it's the last major Spider-Man story that's never actually been adapted.
Because that would make a killer animated film. I'd be okay with a live action, but which Spider-Man would you do? That's the question. They've already kind of like almost ruined Kraven with this new movie. You're like, I've always I said it. It looks like a good movie, but it's not Kraven.
Not a Kraven movie, But I think hear me out. You know what I think would make a really good one. You know how we're fans of Logan.
Yeah.
Why not do a Tobey Maguire Kraven's Last Hunt with Tobey Maguire at the age he was with No Way Home? He'd been Spider-Man, as you know, he got married to Mary Jane, and all that. Now he's got a daughter. He's sort of winding up. Bang, Kraven's Last Hunt.
100. You know what? Yes, and you know what else? Who would you cast as Kraven, and why is it Jason Momoa?
look wise, 1 billion trillion %. I agree totally.
Yeah.
But in saying that, you need that Russian. You need that accent. And Like, I love Jason Momoa, don't get me wrong. I just don't know if he can pull it off.
Yeah, that's true.
He looks like Kraven, but I just
Yeah.
don't think that he can pull it off, to be honest with you.
Well, here's the thing, because it always comes like you can have a great casting and a crap script. So
Yeah.
can you see the guy who's playing Kraven now if it was accurate? Like if it was comic book accurate?
Aaron Taylor Johnson, yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron, he's done his fair share. Like, he was first started out with Kick-Ass, then he was Quicksilver.
Yeah.
He's done. He could do it for sure.
Yeah.
If they tell the right story.
Yeah, but it's
But at the moment, I don't see them doing it.
No, because they just keep changing stuff. It's just like they should know by now what works and what people want, because they're catering to. It's like they're trying to pull in the people that don't know anything about the comics.
Correct.
You know, when you should be catering to the comics, the comic fans, and making it a little more appealing to, people that don't know. You just make it look, look good, sell it.
Okay, One Piece.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
One Piece made me want to go back and watch more of the anime.
Yeah.
But now, like, there's been this game that I've on my computer that it's a One Piece RPG called One Piece Odyssey that I've been wanting to play for a very long time. However, it says they don't go into depth on who the characters are. So if you don't know who the characters are, you might be a bit lost. Now, I feel like I've watched season 1. I can go in and start playing this game now and I have a basic understanding on who the characters are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that to me, and having, like, I trust Chris when it comes to anime.
Yeah.
Because he put me onto so many great animes, and if he's telling me, because I've only watched a little bit of the anime, if he's telling me that is the most accurate version of an anime that we've seen in history, I'm going to believe him. Because he's watched probably every anime that's ever come out in in history. And, and the fact that like someone like yourself who has no anime background whatsoever can enjoy it. I mean, I can't wait for season 2. I'm absolutely pumped.
Yeah.
I think if you don't fall in love with Luffy, you don't have a heart.
Yeah.
Like, you just want him to succeed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's good storytelling.
100%, and that's what's lacking in Hollywood, especially Disney. Sorry, Disney. Not sorry, Disney. Yes. Because I grew up with Disney, and that was some of the finest storytelling in that 90s, even early 2000s. Cream of the crop. But now,
I'll give you a clean example of now. I tried today, because I didn't have much on. I was getting a whole bunch of stuff delivered, so I had to be at home. So I tried again to watch Secret Invasion.
All right.
So this is my second time. I didn't make it past the end of the first episode.
Yeah.
Last time. I didn't make it past the first 30 minutes of the first episode this time before I was just like, I can't do this. I cannot do this. And that's got Samuel L. Jackson in it, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And Martin Freeman. I mean, come on. Yeah. You've got two amazing actors, and you can't write them a good story. And I am very familiar with the Secret Invasion storyline. I should be their target audience.
Yeah.
I couldn't get past the first 30 minutes. Like, Steph came out and she's like, do you want to watch something else? I'm like, oh, thank God. Because I was just like, you know what I'm like, as a completionist, I have to finish it. Like, I have to at least finish that episode. But a show like Ashoka, which I should be excited to watch, I haven't even watched any of them.
Yeah, I someone at work said it's really good, and I'm skeptical.
Okay, the whole reason I wanted to watch it was for General Thorne.
Yeah.
They're now up to episode 5 of an 8-episode series, and he has not appeared.
Yeah. I guarantee it'll probably be in the last episode.
Yeah. I'm not excited for anything Marvel, unfortunately. I'm not. I'm excited for DC. After watching Blue Beetle, I'm excited for James Gunn and DC. because this was done by Peter Safran, who is the new co-runner with James Gunn. So first thing you see after you see a little intro bit is a Peter Safran production. So I'm like, okay, cool. That's why they've said, yeah, cool. It's going to be a part of the universe. That was, as I said, I can't sing enough praise for it because it's the first good new comic book movie, and I'm not talking Guardians because that was a sequel trilogy. First new good comic book movie we've seen in a long time. So look, I'm hoping, as we say, as the Americans love it, because we say in gun we trust.
Yeah, in gun we trust. That's true. But, and I've actually started working on my Ninja Turtle screenplay.
Good.
Good. I'm very excited because I'm doing it my way. I'm honoring the source. One, I'm honoring the source material. Two, I'm doing what everyone does and tweaking it a little bit. Different origin. It's gonna be different origin. More Splinter focused. I want a solid 20 minutes of
nothing wrong with that.
Just Splinter.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
And I can say this all now because as by Australian copyright laws, me just telling you this is copyright. I can write it down on a piece of paper. As long as there's a date on it, it is copyrighted. That's how copyright works in Australia. So if you guys out there steal my idea, I will sue you with my special friendly lawyer, Michael Vasily.
Michael Vasily, that's the solicitor. I actually went, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I went down to St. Vincent de Paul for a little bit of help for a food hamper. Yeah. And his office is directly across the road from him in Blacktown. And it's like looking out the window of St. Vincent's, and I've gone, it's silly. But can I just say one thing in relation to what you're talking about? Mm-hmm. I just brought it up. It was another piece of comic book news that came out this year. So it just reminds me of how some creators sometimes can be so annoyed at what happens to their property. Yeah. Bill Willingham used to be a writer for DC in their Vertigo label. He wrote he created a series called Fables, not relation to the game. Fables. So it's basically like a, Brothers Grimm kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he wrote 150 issues. Now I loved every second of it. It was amazing. And then DC tried to reboot it twice. So you know what he did?
What?
He's now said he put it in public domain. He said, "Go for it." He said DC tried to renew the agreement so that they could use the property. He said no, and it's now he said I'm making it public domain so that because he said I've read so much better fan fiction than anything that's come out of DC.
Yeah,
and I love him for that. That's absolutely amazing. So that just reminds me. That's what that. I feel after that Mutant Mayhem movie, that's what we should be doing. But look, I can't wait to read what you've written because I know you and I know it's going to be amazing.
So little bit of a sneak preview. Baxter Stockman, Old Hob. That's first movie, first villains of the movie. Yeah, but yes, there will still be Shredder. It will be in it briefly, because that's what you do. You tease people. Because it's still gonna be the origin from the first one, the very first Mirage comic, where Hamato Yoshi kills Shredder's brother, and then Shredder seeks revenge. That's primarily the plot of the opening one, but Splinter is mutated way before the Turtles.
Okay. Oh, I like it.
So he escapes from TCRI, and Hamato Yoshi and his wife Tang Shen, I think her name is. Yeah, they find Splinter and nurse Splinter back to health. Splinter then gets taught ninjutsu while he's a mutated rat, not as a pet rat, because that's just insane, and then Shredder, the evil Shredder attacks.
These turtle boys won't cut him no slack.
No, the turtles don't exist at that point, but
No, that's from the theme song.
I know. Yeah, that's why I said the evil Shredder attacks. But look, that's a little sneak peek. That's what I'm kind of working on, and
nice.
I'm hopefully, Shredder will be second movie in the trilogy, and then the third trilogy will be what we call a Chris Park boner, because it will be Triceratons.
Excellent.
Yeah. Because you just got to do Triceratons.
Yeah, you have to.
But
I can't wait.
But that's my little preview at what I'm working on.
You promised me one thing. Yeah. If it ever gets made into a movie, that the four of us, you, me, Mike, and Chris, get at least a little cameo, even if we're just dressed up as Turtles cosplayers.
No, 100%. But if it is getting made, it is a combination of practical effects and CGI. Because I'm wanting to do Baxter Stockman and Mouses, there's probably going to have to be a little bit of CGI, because Mouses and robots and all that stuff. But I want suits. I want turtle suits. Because practical effects all the way. Thank you for listening, guys.
There was something I needed to mention, but it slipped my mind. It was something good and comic related too. I just can't remember.
good and comic related. Well,
I'll think of it for the next episode.
For the next episode. But thanks for listening, guys. As always, if you want to reach out, if you want to chat to us about anything, if you're a comic book artist, you want to come on, we'll talk to you.
Writer.
Writer, anything. If you want to come on as a sponsor, buymeacoffee.com/STTATF. Link in the show notes. Reach out to us at thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com. Check us out on Instagram, stories_podcast, and we're on Facebook as well. I guess we'll catch you next time for issue 2 of Kraven's Last Hunt.
And as a public service announcement, if you are going to buy Mortal Kombat 1 when it comes out, don't buy it on Switch, because I played this Switch first. Right, and the graphics are horrible.
This has been a public service announcement from Ryan D. Hayes.